Hello. Today's our lesson will discuss Introduction to Business Counseling and the counseling process. The outline for the lesson today is what is counseling, what is business counseling, process of setting an enterprise, types of business counselors, counseling versus consulting, business counseling process. What makes an effective counselor? Do's and don'ts of business counseling. So, what is counseling? Counseling is a relationship between the entrepreneur and the counselor or the business counselor. It focuses on feeling, thinking, and action. At the end of the day, your entrepreneur is coming to you because he has a certain problem. So we have to be very careful in addressing the feelings of the entrepreneur and try to develop a kind of action plan for overcoming these obstacles or these problems. So it is an exercise of thinking, where is the source of this problem, what caused this problem, what are the effects, what are the solutions, and then we need to take appropriate action together with the entrepreneur on identifying the best solution that will suit him and suit the enterprise to overcome the problems. Self-help. Counseling requires it's a two-way relationship between the business counselor and the entrepreneur. If the entrepreneur is not willing to help himself, then there is no need for this exercise. The belief of the entrepreneur that this is where the place that these people can provide me support has to be very well initiated and very well structured. So accordingly, it's the entrepreneur who has to really be in a position that he wants to help himself. We cannot help those who do not want to help themselves. Choice. The entrepreneur will take the final choice, will have to choose between different routes and different solutions for his problem, or different routes of overcoming this issue. So accordingly, it's based on his personal choice, keeping in mind that solutions presented should always be scientifically calculated and not based on emotional decisions. It's a process. It's not something that will start and finish immediately. Most counseling exercises tend to be long in duration. It could take 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. It depends on the complexity of the problem. It depends on the availability of the entrepreneur. But at the end of the day, it has to be made very clear that this is a long-term relationship between the business counselor and the entrepreneur. What is business counseling? Problems of businesses vary from startup to survival to growth. It helps when the entrepreneurs seek the assistance of an experienced business counselor. So the life cycle or the project life cycle of any enterprise is based on startup, survival, and growth. And at each of these different phases or stages, the enterprise would require special support services. Same case with the entrepreneur. So accordingly, it is important sometimes for entrepreneurs to come and discuss some of these problems with business counselors who have the know-how, who have the knowledge, and who have the information that they can provide to the entrepreneur so that they can overcome these obstacles. Another description or another definition of business counseling, it is a process by which business problems, issues are investigated so that a business person learns not only to tackle the immediate issues, but to cope with future difficulties as well. So the whole exercise of business counseling is to identify problems, develop solutions together with the entrepreneur. We need the entrepreneur to be part of this exercise so that in future problems he faces, he might adapt the same techniques or the same methodologies that we have adopted in earlier problem-solving issues. Process of setting up a business enterprise. Business opportunity identification. So to really start a business, as we said, you need an entrepreneur. When you have that entrepreneur needs to identify a business opportunity where he feels that he is capable of managing and developing further. Business planning, he needs to plan for his business. What raw materials will be required? How many staff members do I need? What kind of manufacturing process? So this all has to be developed into what we call as a business plan. Deciding on the form of organization. Based on the laws and regulations of the country we are establishing this business. Do we open a sole proprietorship? Do we open a partnership? Do we seek joint ventures? Do we seek other partners? So accordingly, this also has to be decided by the entrepreneur. Government policies and procedures. What is the tax benefits for this region or for this area? What are the policies when it comes to an industrial license? Can I open in an industrial area, or can I simply rent a shop in one of the streets of the country and develop the business? So all these are part of the questions or the decisions that your entrepreneur will have to take. Means of financing. Do we get a loan? Do we get equity financing? Do we take angel investments? Do we invest all of our money into this business, or do we invest part of that? So this is another area that your entrepreneur needs to decide. Location, infrastructure, facilities. Do we establish in a business incubator? Do we rent in a free zone? Do we rent in an industrial area? Do we buy instead of renting? Manufacturing process. Each product or service you want to deliver has its own way of its development, and there could be different routing to manufacture products. So accordingly, which is the best manufacturing process that we will have to adopt? Plant and machinery. Which machine do we buy? In which capacity do we buy? From which country? There are different technologies now available for most of the products we see around us. So which technology do we want to adopt and utilize in the product? What is the quality of this product that we want? Because the machine the machine will decide the quality of the product that we will have at the end of the day. Materials, manpower, utilities, raw material. These are also things that the entrepreneur should decide about. Business implementation. How many staff members do we have? How many managers? How many salesmen do we have? How will we come about implementing the business plan that we have developed? Survival, stabilization, and growth. How will we survive these few months or first year in operation of this business? How will we stabilize this product and stabilize this enterprise and then grow it further? What do we need to do? What are the areas that we should start to look into? We're running a business in a certain country. Now we want to move into other areas, or we want to access other markets. So what is needed from the side of the entrepreneur to be pre-planned ahead of time? As you can see, the entrepreneur has several issues that he has to address, and he has to come and he has to reach answers for. So accordingly, it is the job of the business counselor, as much as possible, to provide all the information, all the know-how, all the knowledge, all the contacts, all the support structures and services to help the entrepreneur take a calculated scientific risk and what is best for his enterprise and for the growth of his enterprise. And this takes me to types of business counselors. Marketing. So accordingly, we need to have a marketing business counselor who will help the entrepreneur answer questions related to the marketing component. How will we sell the product? How do we promote the product? And develop a marketing plan for this product and for the enterprise. We need financial business counselors, and these people will look into the areas of doing the financial analysis, the financial projections, the cash flow, the balance sheet, the income statements, because your entrepreneur needs to know the success of this business and how it is progressing with time. Administrative. These are the types of business counselors who provide support on legal issues and administrative issues. These people could be employees in ministries. So your entrepreneur will need to establish contacts with staff of ministries of industry and commerce and all the support institutions, government-owned support institutions, in finalizing their legal papers or their legal requirements. So accordingly, we also require administrative business counselors. Technical business counselors. Once again, if we go back to the listing of establishing an enterprise, there are many decisions to be taken. Some of them are extremely technical when it comes to buying equipment. As an entrepreneur, he has a dream of manufacturing a certain product. But sometimes the decision to buy a certain machine or to rent a certain machine is not within his hands. He doesn't have the technical know-how to really decide. I know I want to manufacture pens or I want to manufacture chairs, but I don't know the know-how. I don't know what kind of technology do I need. What is the technology that will provide me with a high-level chair or a high quality product? So accordingly, it is good at times and to have a network of business counselors, technical, marketing, finance, and administrative. If you realize that in the geographical area you're developing the program, you are receiving entrepreneurs who have a tendency of starting businesses in agriculture, then we strongly recommend that you develop a network or you develop a relationship with a number of experts in the agricultural sector, because the business counselor cannot answer all the questions of the entrepreneurs. A business counselor should have his own network, and accordingly, should an entrepreneur come with a technical issue specific on the agriculture, let's say, we have an expert or two or three who can provide him the right answer and will guide him to take the right decision. Counseling versus consulting. People mix between counseling and consulting. An example will simplify the difference between consulting and counseling. A consultant is somebody who you go to when you have a problem. So the consultant will come to the company, sit with the entrepreneur, meet with his people, assess the company and the production, the marketing and the finance and administration, and then accordingly he will develop a kind of action plan. That the problem of your enterprise is that sales are going down because the quality of the product has dropped. He takes his fees, and then now it's the job of the entrepreneur to decide which option or which course of action he should take. A business counselor, when addressed with this issue, will meet with the entrepreneur, meet with the staff of the entrepreneur together with the entrepreneur, assess the production, the marketing, the finance, and the administration of the company together with the entrepreneur. Together, they will decide on the problem, and then they will look into possible solutions for that problem. And then accordingly, together, they will decide on the best course of action to overcome this drop in the sales. The distinction here, if you realize, counseling has a learning process to it. It has a learning component to it. We don't solve the problem of the entrepreneur and give it back to him. We sit with the entrepreneur and we show him and explain to him and guide him on how to identify the problem, develop the solution, and then to take the right course of action. While consulting is a ready-made package. What's your problem? We will solve it, you pay us, and it's done. Counseling, no. We will sit together to reach the solution and to identify the best course of action. Process of business counseling. So your entrepreneur has a problem. This is where he is today. His sales have dropped. So accordingly, we need to identify what are the reasons behind this drop in sales. So we need to identify the problem. And it is important when we identify the problem, that the entrepreneur believes that this is the problem. Or else this business counseling exercise will not reach any place. So the problem of the decrease in sales could be because the quality of the product went down, or because we have a new competitor in the market. So let's say we agreed that it is because the quality of the product went down. So now people are not buying our product because the quality of the product has dropped. Identify possible causes. What could be the problems? What has reached? What is the cause of this drop in the quality? Is it because we changed the raw material, we're using a different raw material? Is it because the machines are old now? Or is it because we have a problem in the manufacturing process? So when we identify the causes, we are able to start to consider the cause and effect. So let's assume now that the problem was based on the machinery. The machine is getting old. So accordingly, the quality of the product that they are delivering is not to the standard that we would like to have. So what could be possible solutions? We either buy new machines, we either furbish the existing machine, or we can rent a new machine. In these three options, it is important to look into the company's capability of implementing the solution. Assume, as I said, one of the solutions could be to buy new machinery. But the financial situation of the company and entrepreneur does not allow him to take extra loans. So accordingly, this option is not available. We are only left out with two, which is refurbishing or renting. Maybe refurbishing is an option, which is cheaper than renting new machines. So accordingly, it is important also at this stage where we're trying to identify the solution, that the entrepreneur owns the solution and knows that this is the right solution for him, that he and the enterprise are capable of going along with. Plan actions for solutions. So now, accordingly, we have decided we need to refurbish these machines. Where shall we refurbish them? Which company? Do we send them to the mother company? Or will the company who sold us this technology come to our premises and do the refurbishing there? So these are all things that we have to look into and options that have financial implications. And then on, let's assume that the mother company will send their technical guy to our premises and do the refurbishing there. So accordingly, what we need to do now, after the machines have been refurbished and the production has been back on track, we need to monitor, evaluate, and assess for possible feedback. Are our sales 2 months, 3 months down the line picking up again, which means that was the problem and the solution was made and now we're over. We can continue the daily operations. If we realize that no, still the prices are going down or the sales are going down, which means that the problem we identified was not the right problem. It's the role again of the business counselor to sit again and assess the real problems once again. So from where we are, or from where the entrepreneur is to where the entrepreneur wants to be. The business counseling process is a joint effort, once again, between the entrepreneur and the business counselor. Your entrepreneur is on point B, or on point A, and he wants to reach point B. So the job of the entrepreneur or the business counselor is to help him move from point A to point B with minimal time, minimal expenses, minimal financial implications, keeping in mind that it is a calculated scientific decision and it's not based on emotions and uncalculated risks. What are the problem areas in counseling interviews? Most or all business counseling sessions are usually interview-based. We are sitting face to face with the entrepreneur. The counselor is unprepared. You get a phone call from an entrepreneur saying, look, I have a problem and I need to see you. As a business counselor, it is very important to know what is the purpose of this meeting. Why is the entrepreneur coming to you? What kind of problems do we have? Because this will give the business counselor the capability to prepare himself. Maybe he's coming for a certain problem, for a very specific technical problem, that you as a business counselor, you do not know how to help him. So maybe you need to introduce somebody else, or you need to do your own research. So please, as business counselors, when you know that you have an entrepreneur coming to you, please make sure to investigate the purpose of this counseling session and what are the problems that you will be anticipating or discussing with the entrepreneur. Talks too much. Business counselors, please don't talk too much. The business counseling interview is made for the entrepreneur to express himself. Most of the talking, most of the discussions should be entrepreneur-based rather than business counselor-based, because we need to know the full story behind the problem and what caused it. Draws conclusion quickly. Business counselors tend to draw the conclusion quickly because sometimes for them, based on their experience, they have a long history in doing business counseling, so for them things become part of their daily life. Make sure to not draw conclusions quickly on the entrepreneur or on the business unless it has been assessed, studied, verified, and then you can really say that, fine, this is the problem. But without the proper research and listening to the entrepreneur, it is a big mistake to draw conclusions on the problems and issues of the entrepreneur. Selective perception. Sometimes business counselors listen to whatever they want to listen. They don't listen the full story. This is why it is good to keep on asking all the entrepreneur questions from different angles so that we can really perceive the right problem and really feel what the entrepreneur is going through. Business counselor is a poor listener. Most of the talking should be done by the entrepreneur. Most of the talking should be done by the entrepreneur. The job of the business counselor is to guide the entrepreneur during the discussion, but not really leave the entrepreneur without saying much. And sometimes business counselors use this to promote themselves. That the more we talk, the more we can convince the entrepreneur that we know and we can help him. But one thing you have to keep in mind, if the entrepreneur does not know that you can help him, he would have never came to you in the first place. So accordingly, because he came to you, he believes that you can solve his problem. So there is no need to show off and try to present yourself as a very smart individual. Simply let him talk whatever he needs to talk, clarify whatever you need to understand more about his problem, and then accordingly develop an action plan. Allows interviewee to dedicate the pay structure. We said let the entrepreneur talk most of the time, but it's the job of the business counselor to guide the discussion, not to leave it completely open to the entrepreneur. Sometimes it's important to intervene as a business counselor to put the discussion back on track. The business counselor loses sight of the main objective. It becomes more of a socializing discussion, more of a business counseling exercise that needs to look into the problems and develop solutions for them. So this is another area that business counselors need to know, that this entrepreneur is coming to me, he has a certain issue, I need to know what that issue is, address it, and then provide the right guidance for him to proceed further in his business. Poor in formulating questions, and this is one of the biggest areas. Please don't ask close-ended questions. Close-ended questions are questions that can be answered with a yes or a no. How is your sales? Good. That's it. It's over. This is a closed-ended question. An open-ended question would be, tell me more about your sales. In this question, your entrepreneur cannot say they're good. He needs to explain, if they're good, he needs to explain why. So tell me more about your sales. And accordingly, if you feel that there is a need to ask questions, please feel free to do that, as long as we're trying to acquire as much information as possible on the problem, the causes, and the effects. What makes an effective counselor? To be an effective counselor, you need to have 4 different skills or traits. Analytical skills. Business counselors should have the analysis capability. They should be able to analyze and look to the future on the cause-effect of things. Interpersonal skills. Because this is a relationship between an entrepreneur and a business counselor, the business counselor should be able to create a sense of warmth, sympathy, enthusiasm, that we will be able to solve the problem together. So he has to try and keep the spirits high. Environmental knowledge. It's important that the business counselor knows the region we are dealing with. Me, as somebody living in Bahrain, I cannot go and do business counseling. Sorry. I cannot go and do business counseling in another country because I don't know the environment. I don't know the legal requirements. I don't know the consumer behavior of the people there. So accordingly, I can provide technical business counseling, but I cannot provide marketing and finance and administrative business counseling. The effective business counselor should also have a degree of a wide range of references. In what sense? He needs to have an established network with technical business counselors, with government institutions, with other entrepreneurs who are capable of providing support to the entrepreneur. Because it's not only the job of the entrepreneur to develop, it's not only the job of the business counselor to provide the support to the entrepreneur. Other institutions will also play a role in that. So accordingly, the business counselor should have a big database of contacts, relations, information, website, whatever, so that we can pass on some of these information to the entrepreneur so that he can overcome his problems and issues. Do's and don'ts of business counseling. Counseling location. What is meant by counseling location is that where will the meeting between the entrepreneur and the business counselor happen? In our advice, it is important to have at least one business counseling session at the entrepreneur's business. This will give some more insight and practical view of the business for the business counselor, so that we can really have a sense and feeling of the kind of business that this entrepreneur is running. At the end of the day, most of the business counseling sessions can be agreed upon between the business counselor and the entrepreneur himself. Face to face. If the entrepreneur that we are dealing with is new to starting his business and this is the first business for him, it's important to have the business counseling session face to face. Revert away from virtual business counseling, which goes through internet or telephone or emails or faxes. It is important to have this face-to-face interaction with the entrepreneur. Should the entrepreneur be well experienced and well developed, then yes, this virtual business counseling can be utilized. Be friendly and natural. Be very natural with the entrepreneur. Be yourself. Don't try to take or present yourself to him in something that you are really not. Simply be friendly, be natural to him. If you can help him, make that clear to him. If it's not possible, show him how you will try to help him develop further. Cast aside unfinished business. People in general cannot multitask. If an entrepreneur is coming to you, please be free completely for him. Don't answer telephone calls. Don't check your emails while you're in a business counseling session with him, because this will show that you do not have a strong interest in what he's talking about. And part of keeping the motivation high and ensuring that we can provide a good service and that we are willing to listen to you is that we take away everything that will bother us when you are with us, because we want to help you and we want to support you. Put the counselee at ease. If you feel the entrepreneur is not in a very good position, he's not in a very good mood, try to open topics that are, friendly topics. Talk about a football match that happened 2 days ago. Don't open political issues. At the end of the day, the entrepreneur is there because he has his own problem. And our job is only to help him solve and overcome this problem. Exhibit and keep interest in counselee and his statements. Listen to him. Really show him that you care and that you are willing to listen to everything he wants to say, and that you are more than willing to help him overcome these obstacles or these issues. Allow him to tell his own story. Give him the space, give him the time to say what he really wants to say. And be very careful when it comes to time and in overstretching the business counseling session. Help him to see his own problems. If you realize that there is a problem within his management, in his operation, or within himself, express this frankly to him. Because if you have a good relationship and a friendly relationship with the business counselor, with the entrepreneur, you can always express to him whatever you want without any issues that he might take against you. Judge his actions objectively. Don't judge him as a person. Judge his actions. Judge the way he is running the business. Because he will accept such criticism because he knows that you are here to help him develop. You are here to help him improve his business. So accordingly, he'll be very receptive to such kind of counseling or such kind of judging. Inquire about the steps he has already taken to solve his difficulties. Did he do any exercise? Did he do any research? Did he take any steps to overcome this issue, so that we can really have the full picture of the problem, the cause, the effect, and where does he really stand today? And this will help us as business counselors develop the right action package or action solution for this entrepreneur. Don't assume the responsibility of finding solutions to the counselee problems. It's not the sole problem of the business counselor to identify the solutions or overcome these obstacles. On the contrary, it's a joint effort between the business counselor and the entrepreneur to work together with others, with the support institutions, to really overcome these issues and provide the right service and support to the entrepreneur. Lead the counselee to develop a definite plan of action for him. So don't leave the meeting just like that. If we have decided on a set of steps to be taken, let's develop an action plan. In 3 days, what is he supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? Because this, on the second counseling exercise, you will be able to know what has happened, and this is what we agreed upon. And keep in mind, business counselors, you will be counseling more than one entrepreneur. With time, with the increase in number of entrepreneurs you'll be dealing with, you will not be able to keep track of each entrepreneur unless you have a certain written document or a kind of action plan that you have developed with this entrepreneur. Mention books, printed materials, contacts, and agencies that might be helpful. In any discussion with your entrepreneur, if you feel that he is weak in negotiation skills, give him a name of a book, give him a contact with a professor or somebody who can add value to him. So these references are also important to share with the entrepreneurs. Observe any signs of disappointment or discontent. Some problems may be family-based. Some of our entrepreneurs face problems in their enterprises, not because of the way they are managing the business, but because they are facing family problems. An entrepreneur could not be going to his office every day to manage his business because he's not lazy, but because he has family issues that he has to attend to. So this is not allowing him to be at the enterprise every single day. And then we realize that the sales will be going down, or the company starts to face problems. So accordingly, when your entrepreneur is discussing these family issues, it is very essential to be very sensitive on these issues and be very careful, because these are personal things. And if the entrepreneur is willing to give you these personal things, then you have to treat it very well. And once again, judge the actions and do not judge the person. Don't extend the session beyond the point of satisfaction. If you realize that the counseling exercise has been satisfied, then it's over. You simply escort him out, and then you agree on the second business counseling session. There is no need to sit and socialize with the entrepreneur. Future meetings. Always try to work with the entrepreneur on deciding where is the next meeting going to happen, when will it, and on which day. Allow him to dictate some of the future meetings. Where would he like the meeting to take place, and for how long will that meeting take? Confidentiality. Anything your entrepreneur tells you as a business counselor is confidential. Unless you really need the advice of another expert or another technical business counselor, then you can go ahead and do that, on condition that your entrepreneur knows clearly that you will be discussing his issue with another technical business counselor or with another support institution. Keep the confidentiality issue top level. Share these problems with other persons who might be helpful. And this is exactly what we're saying. You can share this problem of the entrepreneur with other business counselors or support institutions on condition that he is well aware that you'll be discussing his case with other people. Review the steps that have been taken and encourage the counselee to summarize the discussion. At the very end of the business counseling exercise, it's good that you make sure that the entrepreneur summarizes the discussions and what are the follow-up steps to be taken from his side and from your side as a business counselor. This will help us understand and make sure and ensure that the entrepreneur really understood the discussion and really understood what needs to be done. Makes his own bed and lies on it. Remember, the enterprise is owned by the entrepreneur. It is his business, it is his life. So accordingly, we don't need to take the decisions on his behalf. If he doesn't want to take a certain route or a certain solution, that's his own issue. It's not ours. Our job is to advise, counsel, give guidance, but it's not our decision to take it's not our role to take the final decision. Take notes, review them before next meeting. Always take notes on the discussions that happened and what are the follow-up actions to be done by the business counselor and the entrepreneur. And this takes me to another slide that is the counseling form. The counseling form is also attached to this lesson, and the counseling form will help us track the entrepreneur's project case. Where is the project now? Where is the business now? What are the problems? What are the things that have to be addressed? So accordingly, this is a good reference sheet that will help us for later on. When the entrepreneur comes back again, we know exactly what was the previous counseling session about, what kind of services and things he was requested to do, and what was expected from our side. So it's a good follow-up and a history of the entrepreneur. The counseling form is a good benchmark for the enterprise development and investment promotion preparation and empowerment step. As you know, the enterprise development and investment promotion program has a component of providing training sessions and capacity building programs. So if we realize that 60% of our entrepreneurs are coming with weak marketing information and weak marketing knowledge, then we are immediately able to identify that the capacity building program, when it comes to the marketing component, was not strong enough. Sometimes it could not be the case, but if we realize that most of our entrepreneurs have financial problems, then maybe we need to develop a special capacity building program for 2 days, 3 days on financial issues, so that we minimize the interaction that we need to have between the entrepreneur and the business counselor. It also gives insight on the entrepreneur. You'll be able to see the track history of this entrepreneur. The more business counseling sessions, the more we will have insight on the entrepreneur, his capabilities and future direction.